This is a seal and bearing replacement in Hammerhead and Hammerhead hybrid pumps. You will need to grab these tools before starting. An impact driver or strong drill is recommended for pulling the bearings. You can use the electrical box cover to push the seal into the impeller. And finally, make sure you have the right bearings before starting. Start by removing the 7 P-bolts that hold the volute onto the bracket. Next, use a flathead screwdriver to hold the motor shaft still while you remove the impeller. You may have to remove the fan cover and fan in order to hold the motor shaft still with some pliers. This will expose the 2 seals. Next, we will remove the 4 M bolts holding the bracket onto the motor. After removing the 4 M bolts, remove the bracket and set the bracket and the impeller aside. Now we'll change the bearings. Remove the 3 fan cover screws holding the fan cover on. After removing the fan cover, use a C-clip removal tool to remove the C-clip holding the fan on. Sometimes this can be tricky and may take a few tries. Once you remove the C-clip, set it aside and use 2 hands to pry the fan off of the motor shaft. After you remove the fan, remove the 4 through bolts holding the end bell on. After removing the 4 through bolts, use a flathead screwdriver and a hammer to lightly tap the end bell off. Remove the end bell and the motor shaft and inspect the inside of the motor. Also, remove the O-ring in the bottom of the motor. You may have to break the end bell free from the motor shaft. Tapping it on the ground will work. These are the 2 bearings we'll be replacing. This is where a strong drill will come in handy. Use an impact driver with a socket attached and a bearing puller to remove the bearings from the motor shaft. I have been able to do this before without a drill and just a ratchet and the bearing puller and a vise or something to hold the bearing puller, but a drill is recommended. Okay, after removing those two bearings, set them aside so you don't mix them up. Get the two new bearings, clean the motor shaft off, and slide the bearing over the motor shaft. There will be another C-clip on the motor shaft, and you just want to hammer the bearing down to the point of the C-clip, but not like crushing the C-clip, but just to where it kind of sits on top and you can't spin the C-clip. When you're hammering these bearings down, keep in mind you don't want to hammer down onto the plastic black covering that covers the bearings. That can damage them. You just want to find something that will hammer down alongside the motor shaft and just hit that center part of the bearing. After you've installed the bearings onto the motor shaft, grab the rest of the motor. I use a through bolt to kind of guide the washer back down into the center of the end bell. Next, drop the shaft into the motor. The short end of the shaft will go towards the rear. Then grab the front end bell and press it over the motor shaft. After that, grab the 4 through bolts and thread them into the motor. Now use your impact driver to fasten the 4 through bolts into the front end bell. Check to make sure the motor shaft spins freely. Now we'll reinstall the fan. You want to match up the flat part of the motor shaft to the flat part of the fan. Press the fan onto the motor shaft. Then, using your C-ring clip, you want to install the C-ring back onto the motor shaft. After you install the fan cover. Now we'll be replacing the seals and the impeller and the bracket. Here's the tools you will need. Make sure you have the correct seals for the Hammerhead or Hammerhead hybrid. Now use a flathead screwdriver to pry the seal out of the impeller. Be careful not to damage the walls of the impeller. After you remove the seal, remove the excess of adhesive. Now apply a small amount of silicone glue to the tip of your finger. You want to lightly run it up against the edge of the inside of the impeller, and you don't want to put too much that it smears out the side of the seal when you go to press it down. Now use the cover of the electrical box or something flat and a paper towel to protect the seal. Lay the seal down onto the impeller, and then you want to firmly press, but not too hard. You want to press the seal onto the impeller and then Make sure everything's flat and remove the excess adhesive that's inside of there. Now, take the bracket. You want to use something that is smaller than the diameter of the seal hole and the hammer and pound out that seal. And then toss the old seal and remove the excess silicone glue inside of the bracket. Now, apply a small amount of silicone glue to the tip of your finger. And same thing, you want to run it along the edge of the inside of the seal hole until the entire diameter is filled or covered. Now take your new seal and set it onto the bracket. And now you want to take something like a 1-inch pipe in, put it over the seal and a hammer, and you want to lightly tap the seal into the bracket. You can also do this with a press. Once that is done, wipe off the excess silicone glue. Now the new seals are installed in the bracket and the impeller, and they are ready to go back on the motor. Now grab the motor. You want to make sure that the seal is still on the shaft, and you want to line up the 4 holes where the M bolts will go. Now grab your 4 M bolts and washers and tighten them onto the motor. After tightening the 4 M bolts, inspect everything and make sure everything is fitting correctly. Now, using your flathead screwdriver, hold the motor shaft still while you spin the impeller back onto the motor shaft. Finally, install the volute back onto the bracket. Make sure that the large O-ring is still in good condition and that the 7 P-bolts are lined up. Now fasten the 7 washers onto the P-bolts. After the bolts are tight, make sure that the impeller will spin freely. Inspect everything, and now you have completed your pump repair. Thanks for watching.